Today, we start with a quick economic update after our second meeting for the year of the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority. Included in the projects approved today, Kentucky has seen 23 plus announcements, well over 700 million in new investments, and over 1,200 full-time jobs created thus far, just in January and February of 2023. One of the projects approved today furthers growth of our state's agritech sector with a $6 million expansion by Neogen Corporation, creating 70 new full-time jobs in Lexington, Kentucky. Neogen is a leading manufacturer of animal and food safety products and has operated in Kentucky since 1992, when the company formed its animal safety headquarters in Lexington. This latest investment is converting 20,000 square feet of floor space into manufacturing space on Mercer Road in Lexington. It includes building improvements and manufacturing equipment. With Lexington established as Neogen's animal safety headquarters, the company has now grown to employ over 220 Kentuckians across 2 Lexington facilities and 1 in Mount Sterling. This announcement comes only about 6 weeks after Neogen announced plans to invest $10 million in its Mount Sterling facility, creating 79 full-time jobs. These 2 announcements together in such a short period of time first shows how the agritech sector in Kentucky is booming, but it also shows the commitment from Neogen's leaders to continue to invest in multiple communities in our state. That's the type of success we love to see, one that grows and one that spreads. I want to thank Neogen's leadership for continuing to invest in the Lexington community, in Mount Sterling, and growing their presence all across Kentucky. Other approvals from that meeting today that we will see more news on over the course of the next couple weeks. IVCP 8th and South was approved for $35 million, approved for a $35 million investment. Now, the incentives are different than that. It is in Fayette County. Heaven Hill was approved incentives for a project that would be $17.4 million and 15 new jobs in Nelson County. AP Electric, $2.2 million and 30 jobs in Jefferson County. Fort Dearborn, $22.9 million, 90 jobs in Jefferson County. Lamaflex, $2.4 million, 20 jobs in Fayette County. 29th Street Property Management, $2.225 million and 61 jobs in Jefferson County. And Houston Johnson, $14.7 million and 76 new jobs in Jefferson County. Economic development is still booming. Our economy is not slowing down from the receipts we saw in January to the economic development approvals in January and February. It is really exciting to see Kentucky right at the top in terms of growth, in terms of new jobs, and to see our momentum just continuing from a record 2021, second best year of 2022, and we expect big things here in 2023. Let's give an update on Eastern Kentucky. Late last week, many communities across the Commonwealth experienced a variety of severe weather events that led 16 counties and 3 separate cities declaring a state of emergency due to damages brought by a storm. Kentucky Emergency Management monitored the events and are working with the counties impacted across the state to submit damage assessments. While we have not met the level of damage necessary for a federal declaration, that could change as damage assessments continue to come in. Many counties that were declared over last summer's floods experienced additional flooding last week. I know those impacted by this secondary event could struggle to cope with this most recent flooding based on the significant trauma that they have already endured. So if you need help or you need someone to talk to, we encourage you to call or text the Disaster Distress Helpline. That's 1-800-985-5990. So our bodies and our minds aren't meant to take certain types of trauma. That's certainly the case when you've experienced the worst flooding in our Commonwealth's history, followed up by some more flooding, 6+ months later. The Disaster Distress Helpline is a 24/7 year-round confidential crisis counseling and emotional support resource for survivors, responders, and anyone in the U.S. territories struggling with distress or other mental health concerns related to any natural or human-caused disaster. If you're struggling and you need help, please reach out. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. An update on sheltering. To date, the Commonwealth Sheltering Program has 208 households in eastern Kentucky and 213 travel trailers. So we're down 14 families that have been able to transition out and down 14 travel trailers as well. 204 travel trailers are occupied at 10 commercial locations, while 9 are at private locations, and there are 0 people on a waiting list. That was a really exciting moment to hit a couple weeks ago. 4 people are sheltering in 1 hotel, 20 people still sheltering in our state parks. FEMA assistance. FEMA's now approved more than $99.6 million in individual assistance grants. That is an increase from last week to this week of $921,000. Again, every week, it's about $600,000 plus. This week, even more, still being awarded to Kentuckians, so don't give up on your claim. Since February 20th, an additional 13 applicants have received the maximum grant of $37,900, bringing the total housing assistance max grants, in other words, just those that have received the total amount, to $24.6 million. If you need help, please call FEMA directly or visit a multi-agency resource center. Most people who are getting these maximum grants are getting direct help at one of these centers. The centers are open and able to assist survivors that have questions regarding their FEMA application and or status, as well as provide resources and information to help. They are on a rotating schedule as of February 20th. So please go to ky.gov/flood resources. That's the webpage right up there to find out what day the multi-agency resource center closest to you is open for face-to-face assistance. And you can always call the number that's there and get help from somebody that might be accounting over that day. Bridges. The Transportation Cabinet continues to gain ground on restoring public bridges that were damaged or destroyed in the flooding. 95 bridges were found to require total replacement. 71 others required some level of repair. To date, 33 have been replaced and 19 have been repaired, and 70 more put out for bids or contract. Contractors also installed 42 temporary crossings on county roads where a loss of a bridge had left residents cut off from the highway. The temporary crossings consisted of culvert pipes covered with gravel and then packed down. This week's storms washed away or damaged about a dozen of these temporary crossings on county roads. Most have been reopened to traffic while the cabinet works to get the rest repaired and reopened as quickly as possible. And I hope folks understand that that's pretty natural. It takes significant time and funding to do a full rebuild, the types of which can withstand, especially what we saw in that worst of the worst flooding. I got to visit one of the brand new bridges that I never thought that I would feel the way I felt standing on a bridge. But I could stand on that and know that no matter what Mother Nature threw at us, that bridge would make it, and we wouldn't see what we saw in that flooding or what we've seen in some of these temporary structures. But remember, this is one of the toughest rebuilds, if not the toughest, in U.S. history. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of construction and infrastructure. So hang with us. We want to create a better tomorrow in Eastern Kentucky, but that's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in the course of even a year, probably not 2. We're going to be there every day, every month, and every year that it takes to get this right. On good news, we continue to see approvals come in from the Property Acquisition Program. That's what we call the FEMA buyout program. The goal of this is to move folks that are in the floodplain out of it, because FEMA oftentimes won't reimburse or assist a second time if they've already been in and helped once in individual assistance and knows that your home is likely to flood again. As of this week, we have over $10 million in awards approved for the buyout program. That is just shy of a $1.3 million increase since our February 6th report. 61 properties from Perry County, the city of Jackson, Breathitt County, and newly approved Letcher County applicants are included in it. To my knowledge, this is the fastest that FEMA buyouts have ever been approved, and I know our residents need it. Homeowners wanting to learn more about the program are encouraged to contact their local judge executive or emergency management office for information. Today, we have 4 new awards to announce, totaling over $4.4 million from the Eastern Kentucky Safe Fund. These awards include the city of Boonville is receiving 2 awards. The first one is about $5,720 exactly, which is required for a FEMA match. And the second is for $100,000 to help ease their fiscal strain. Knott County has been awarded $3,581,491 to fund a really important FEMA match for them. Perry County has been approved $702,584 to purchase equipment necessary for relief efforts. Again, this is an ongoing fund. As we saw in the West, it takes time for it to really pick up, and you have to have specific expenses that you ultimately apply for. So if you're doing wastewater repair, you have to know how much it's going to cost. You have to have the quote, sometimes a little bit of the engineering. The FEMA match, you have to know how much it is. So this fund is going to be active, very active, for the rest of this year, if not moving into the future. And we will need more money than this fund has eventually, as we know that there's over $1 billion of water and wastewater damage from the major flooding in Eastern Kentucky alone. All right. This week is also severe weather week. Kentucky has faced unimaginable challenges these last 2 years with historic natural disasters, from deadly tornadoes in the west that nearly eliminated my dad's hometown, to flooding in the east and localized flooding and ice storms. Our Commonwealth has faced some of the most severe weather any of us can ever remember, and certainly we faced a lot of it in one short time period. Add that polar plunge, a negative 45-degree wind chill to that list. But in each and every case, Team Kentucky has remained committed to providing clear and reliable information. We've learned that the more prepared our families are for these events, the more lives we can protect. From being prepared beforehand to response efforts during, to support in the days, months, and years afterwards, we will always be there. Today, I'm joined by some of the heroes who help lead these efforts, members of Kentucky's emergency management, including KYEM Director of Operations, Dustin Heiser, the National Weather Service members, and they are absolutely incredible at helping us and briefing us as severe weather comes towards us. And members of the Severe Weather Awareness Week planning team are here to kick off Weather Awareness Week in Kentucky during the first week of March. During this time, these teams will host several events to help educate more Kentuckians on the preparations they can take when facing severe weather. From a statewide tornado drill on March the 1st that we all need to participate in, to engaging events for kids, these teams have put together a lot of great opportunities for our families, and it's also a chance, especially to walk your kids through something like that so they don't have the same level of fear that they might during the actual event. So with that, it gives me great pride to officially proclaim, and I'll do it right over here, March 1 through the 7th as Severe Weather Awareness Week in Kentucky. Y'all want to join me over here? Now if they moved you over there. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Appreciate what y'all do. Thank you. Let's all use this as an opportunity to be more weather aware. I'm really proud, especially during that polar plunge and some other events that we faced, how Kentuckians have made a plan, how many people we've kept off the roads during some very tough times. So very grateful to our people, and we want to continue to do better, because every time we do better, more lives are saved. Now I'm going to turn it over to the Lieutenant Governor, who's got some good news on mental health, as well as good news on LIHEAP that'll help keep especially our seniors warm.
Thank you, Governor. I am so happy to be able to join you all today to share an amazing announcement that we were able to make in a couple places in Kentucky yesterday. There is no denying that COVID-19 had a serious impact on our young people. They lost family members, they were isolated from friends, teachers, coaches, and all of those things exacerbated a trend that we were already seeing in our classrooms, which was the mental health struggle that our students were having. Then as our schools prepared to return to in-person learning, we talked a lot about how hard it would be for our students to re-enter the classroom, not just academically, but socially and emotionally. And I kept hearing other adults talk to other adults about student mental health, but they weren't listening to our students. So I set out to change that. And the Team Kentucky Student Mental Health Initiative was born. Students from across Kentucky came together to lead this important work along with our educational cooperatives, our Division of Friskies, the Family Resource Youth Service Centers, and the Kentucky Department of Behavioral Health. And together we launched 10 regional action summits across Kentucky to hear directly from our experts, our students. And the one requirement I had for this work was that it be completely student-led. Students planned the action summits, they facilitated the conversations, and they dove into the data to craft the recommendations that you will see on our screen. Through the Mental Health Initiative, we have developed local, state, and federal partnerships that have opened doors for all of Kentucky students and for all of our schools. Our student leaders and I have presented their recommendations to the federal government, the Kentucky Board of Education, state agencies, community partners, and the state legislature. And our work to champion policies that improve the mental health of our students continues. Next month, I will be presenting the Student Mental Health Initiative alongside the U.S. Surgeon General to the National Lieutenant Governors Association. And I'm happy to announce that through this work, we were able to connect Kentucky's educational cooperatives with federal funding opportunities made available through the Federal Department of Education to support student mental health. The funding ties directly to recommendation number 4 and 5 made by Kentucky students to expand access to mental health services and treatment and to increase mental health awareness and education. So yesterday, we got to announce that the Northern Kentucky Cooperative for Educational Services has been awarded $13.2 million over 5 years to hire 10 new mental health providers in year 1 and 20 additional providers in year 2. And then we traveled over to Shelbyville and got to announce that the Ohio Valley Educational Cooperative was awarded $5.2 million over 5 years to hire 12 new certified school counselors. So in total, this funding surpasses $18 million and is going to help improve the access to mental health services for over 100,000 Kentucky students. This announcement and the critical work that will follow represents the best of us, because now is the time to invest heavily in our students, beyond the tangible objects like facilities and textbooks, but in the whole child. And Governor Beshear and I stand ready to work with anyone, anytime, anywhere who is serious about tackling the mental health challenges that our students are facing. And I would be remiss if I did not take this opportunity to also remind folks that we have a suicide prevention hotline, and that is 988. So if you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, you can call that number and be connected to someone who can help provide some support to you. Okay. Moving on, we have one more announcement, which again is some great news about LIHEAP. Yesterday, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services awarded over $14 million to the Kentucky Low Income Emergency Assistance Program, also known as LIHEAP. This brings our total amount of funding awards for this program to over $80 million. Energy costs have been high, and these dollars will directly help eligible families in need. The funding can help folks pay for heating, cooling, and energy bills. And so far, this program has helped around 150,000 Kentucky families. So for more information on LIHEAP and to see if you qualify, please visit the website on the screen to see how you can obtain some assistance. And that is the good news for me today, Gov. Back to you.
So from good news for our students to good news for our families and our seniors, now to some good news for our veterans. We have more great news for our veterans here in Kentucky. The Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs has won the Department of Veterans Affairs Abraham Lincoln Pillar of Excellence Award in the category of customer service for VA benefits and services. Folks, this is the third straight year that Kentucky has won this award. That means that we are a national leader in how we treat our veterans. We are getting them their benefits faster and easier than other states, and that is something for us to be proud of. And this news comes on the heels of our signing of bipartisan legislation, House Bill 2, which is providing the extra funding needed to build that new veterans nursing home in Bowling Green. I'm proud to report that all 4 of our long-term care facilities for veterans are 5-star rated, the highest rating that you can receive from the Federal Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. We are showing that Kentucky is a shining example of how to treat our veterans. We're not done yet. We're going to continue to look for ways to honor and better serve those that have served us, that have sacrificed for our freedoms. And I hope that we as Kentuckians can commit to the hard work of being worthy of those sacrifices. All right, some welcome good news on the juvenile justice front. A core component of ensuring safety at our juvenile justice facilities is having enough qualified, trained individuals on duty. And that's why on February 1st, I raised the salary of our detention center youth workers to a minimum of $50,000 annually and reclassified the position to correctional officer. When I came in, that position paid about $30,000. So today, I'm excited to announce that 59 individuals have graduated from the Department of Juvenile Justice's Training Academy and have reported for the first day to their assigned facility. Another 22 individuals begin the Training Academy on Monday and are expected to graduate March the 17th. Of these 81 new security personnel, 61 have been hired as a correctional officer for a juvenile detention center, which are facing really critical, dire needs for more staff. And the remaining 20 have been hired as a youth worker at other facilities like youth development centers and group homes, positions that are also sorely needed. We have been transparent about the challenges facing our juvenile justice system, and instead of running away from them, we've run right at them. In the end, getting this right is going to require every single branch of government to accept responsibility, whether that's the failure to fund the necessary upgrades or recommendations made all the way back in 2016, 2017 that we are putting once again in front of the General Assembly to decisions made by the judicial branch about who goes to one of these centers, because we, the executive branch, can't control that. To our operations in the executive branch, it takes ownership and responsibility from all 3 branches of our government to get this right. We have made some of the most significant changes and reforms, certainly in the system's 25-year history. And we are starting to see some real results with fewer incidents, many fewer incidents than what we were seeing. As you know, we have gone from a regional model, at least in the short term, to a system that is assigned based on severity of the alleged crime by the juveniles. We have 3 high secure facilities that we have state police now at, just in case, 24/7. Very proud that our state police have signed up for all the open shifts, I think, even through the end of March. I'm really grateful for them taking on this extra assignment. State police always answer the call. And while there have been, I guess there is a bill about a Louisville juvenile detention facility moving through right now, we have not seen movement on legislation that is absolutely necessary to resolve this situation. When working with the working group, they asked us a very specific question. Tell us all the appropriations you need and what you need them for to fix this problem now. We gave it to them, yet we have not seen it until now in any bill submitted by the legislature. Again, it takes all 3 branches of government being committed and doing what it takes to resolve this situation. Given that we weren't seeing the movement, We've worked with Representative Derek Graham from right here in Franklin County to file House Bill 591 yesterday. If you could put up the budgetary request, this bill encompasses the budgetary and legislative action that are needed, and we've been open about it. We've presented it to the General Assembly multiple times, and we testified on it in a committee hearing on February the 14th. I ask every branch to do their part to get this right, to not kick the can down the road like was done in 2016, and to make sure we have these facilities where they need to be and our juveniles are getting the services that they need. On a personal note, the First Lady and I want to thank every Kentuckian who participated in this year's Shop and Share, an annual event that benefits the Commonwealth's 15 regional domestic violence shelters. The First Lady, the Kentucky Coalition Against Domestic Violence, Kroger, and other participating grocery stores throughout Kentucky worked together the Saturday before the Super Bowl to make this year's event a success. Over the Super Bowl weekend, Kentuckians donated purchases at the participating retailers totaling more than $300,000 for domestic violence shelters across Kentucky. Brittany and I want to thank everyone who took time out of their busy weekend to volunteer, but we especially want to thank those that spent their hard-earned money, even at a time of significant inflation, to help those that oftentimes have to flee their home, which should be a place of safety, and don't have typically anything with them when they arrive at the shelter. What this means is everything from toothpaste, other needed products, food, how about snacks for a child that might not have eaten in hours, if not days, when they arrive, to make that process just a little bit better. Since the program's inception, more than $5 million in goods and monetary donations have been raised through the annual event for domestic violence shelter programs that make up the coalition. Now in its 14th year, Shop and Share began as a partnership between my mom, First Lady Jane Beshear, and then First Lady Jane Beshear, and the Kentucky Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Domestic violence survivors should know there is a safe place for them. And if you need help, you can contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-SAFE or the Coalition's main line at 502-209-5382. You can also visit the KCADV Get Help Now webpage for a list of shelters and direct contacts across Kentucky. All right, with the session continuing here in Frankfort, the Capitol remains full of Kentuckians celebrating their hard work and the hard work taking place all across the Commonwealth that people are doing to build a brighter future. This week, I was lucky enough to take part in a number of events. I wanted to mention two. First, on Tuesday, I joined leaders to proclaim February 2023 as Career and Technical Education Month in the Commonwealth. This is and always will be an education-first administration because as a dad of two middle schoolers, I know the importance of education and the role that our schools play in helping them succeed and also fueling the workforce, building that brighter tomorrow. For so many of our students, career and technical education is where their dreams really come into focus, where they can get hands-on experience from everything from carpentry to business, nursing to culinary programs. And we are committed to supporting those important programs. Working with the General Assembly, we've now invested about $245 million over the last two budgets to renovate and rebuild career and technical centers all across Kentucky. And what a time to be doing it. When we've announced 43,000 new jobs over the last 3 years. We've become the electric vehicle battery production capital of the United States of America. We're building the cleanest, greenest recycled paper mill on planet Earth, green aluminum plants, so much technology coming to our Commonwealth right now. What better places to provide those skills and begin the training that's needed than in these facilities. And what a great time to be investing when we can invite that private sector in as partners. When they ask where the worker's coming from, we can point right to that career and technical center. So there's a lot of great opportunity for those students. Also, yesterday I got to join an essential group of Kentuckians, our social workers. These are heroes, and they are lifelines to our families in need. They help our children and families through their most challenging moments, but for far too long, they haven't received the support that they deserve. They work long hours with crushing caseloads. But last year, I took a stand for our social workers. In December of 2021, I was proud to announce an immediate 10% raise for all social workers and family support staff. Folks across state government agencies were bumped up one classification, receiving that 10% bump to their base pay. We also implemented a strategy where we can hire social workers more quickly, actually, as they would tell you, significantly, or in a term used the other day, light years quicker than the normal process. Social workers show us the very best of Team Kentucky, the team working together to make a better, safer Kentucky for every single Kentuckian. I was proud to join them for their lobby day and to thank them for their commitment to our families. All right, flu continues to be on the decline in Kentucky. We're actually getting to a pretty good place when it comes to the flu. Flu vaccine this year was particularly effective in that the right one was chosen for the right strain. You can still get your flu shot. We still recommend it if you have not. COVID-19 remains stable. We continue to recommend that individuals get that newest booster. All right, for today's Team Kentucky All-Stars, we're celebrating two incredible Kentucky chefs. First, some great news from Weta Michael, the 6-time James Beard Foundation Award nominee, who many know from her restaurants Holly Hill Inn, just down the road, Honeywood, Wallace Station, Smithtown, and more. She was just appointed to the American Culinary Corps. This remarkable achievement will allow her to work with other culinary stars like our own Edward Lee to utilize food, hospitality, and more to bridge cultures and strengthen friendships. Weta, thanks again for representing our Commonwealth. Personally, thank you for your friendship. You make us proud. Another chef doing big things is Sarah Bradley from Paducah. You may remember Chef Bradley from Top Chef Season 16. Now she's returning for Season 20, which will be in England and France, where she's going to compete against other previous winners and finalists for the World All-Stars title. Well, Sarah's already an all-star given today here in Kentucky, so we wish her the best of luck. Let's cheer her on when the show begins on March 9th. Congratulations to both these great individuals for representing us so well. All right, we'll turn to questions. I think we have 3 journalists here in the room, and we have 4 on the line. We'll start with Tom Latek.
Thank you, Governor. You were talking about the veteran centers, the nursing homes, and loans that you use for it. Is that enough, or are you going to promote or propose building more of those?
I do believe we will need more over time. Certainly, there was a long lag in between the last facility and this one. But you look at the number of individuals that have served and even served in combat during our lifetime, whether that's Afghanistan, Iraq. And when you think about that, there will be a significant need in the future. I know that we have to rise to the challenge of ensuring that we can provide the very best for all of our veterans. Mark Payne.
Thanks, Governor. Some Northern Kentucky legislators have filed legislation challenging the certificate of need process in Kentucky that they say allow one healthcare provider to have dominance in the region. Do you have any thoughts about the certificate of need process, and do you think it needs to be updated?
Well, I think that there should at least be significant discussion and debate before taking such a significant step. Certainly, I understand the need for competition and wanting to foster competition. You know, the flip side is it takes significant and serious investment, sometimes tens, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars for certain specialties and to provide certain care. And what the Certificate of Need program is designed for is to make sure when you make that investment that you get a return. So, you know, I think that this discussion has been going on for a long time, and I think we have seen some changes within the system, especially depending on the specialty. We saw some in ambulance services, if you remember, during the last session. So I haven't read the bill. I look forward to having conversations with those legislators and any other, but like all of healthcare, it's pretty complicated. And I think that there ought to be a really thoughtful discussion about it before taking a really big step. Austin Horn.
Thank you, Governor. I'm wondering if you have any position or comment on SB 150 and HB 470, two bills that have received significant pushback from the trans community? And then second question, I'm wondering how you would define the term woke.
Let me start with the second question. How I would define the term woke. Woke is apparently the new name calling that is used against, I guess, anyone who disagrees with the person using it. It's unfortunate. It's an attempt to create, I guess, a them versus us, and it doesn't help. I was told not to call people names. I was raised. My faith teaches me the same thing. And if we actually want to have adult conversations, let's not call each other names. Second one is my thoughts on Senate Bill 150 and House Bill 470. My faith teaches me that every child is a child of God. And whether it is the position of the AMA or the statistics from the Trevor Project, they're pretty clear that these bills will cause an increase in suicide amongst our youth. I can't be for anything that's going to result in dead Kentucky children, and I wish others would look at it that way. All right, on the line, Karen Czar.
Thank you, Governor. First of all, on House Bill 319 to help deal with the teacher shortages, are you happy with it as written, or do you think it doesn't go far enough? And if there's time, could the Lieutenant Governor talk about some of the specific main concerns of students that she had a chance to talk to regarding mental health? Thank you.
We'll connect the Lieutenant Governor's office to you on the teacher shortage. I appreciate that Representative Tipton is trying, but it's not going to work unless we raise teacher pay. This is a competition for talent. School districts across the country set up at our educational institutions pitching new teachers or soon to be new teachers. And guess what? In our booths, we have to say we are 44th in teacher pay, far behind so many other school districts that are there. Legislators gave themselves an 8% pay raise last session, but only provided enough funding in education for, on average, to give teachers a 3% pay raise. How about we make it even? Pass that 5% raise we've asked, because I think our teachers are just as valuable as our legislators, and I believe our communities agree. Now, admittedly, I tried to veto my own pay raise, but strangely, the General Assembly overrode it. Gil McClanahan. Are you on, Gil?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay. I have a question pertaining to Senate Bill 99 that would provide oversight for the Team Kentucky relief funds, both in Western and here in Eastern Kentucky. My first part of this question is this legislation necessary? And number two, I read, I think in an AP article where you had said there was full transparency of these funds. My question is, if there was, then why did checks go to people who didn't deserve them?
Okay, so first, Senate Bill 99 is not necessary, but I'm okay with it. It just creates formal reporting on relief funds. We've already testified, I believe, 4, if not 5 times in front of committees on every dollar that's been expended from that fund. So there's already a process that we've been following. There's full transparency because we can provide a flash drive to anybody who files an open records request showing where every single payment went, every single dollar, all the rules that we put into place. That is more transparency than any nonprofit, even before the bill going through the legislature. It's more transparency than any other assistance fund that is out there. Full transparency shows you everybody who got a check. We got those names from one of 2 places. FEMA, claiming they got through their process, or insurance companies, claiming they got through their process. If someone got a check that shouldn't have, then someone used their name in one of those 2 processes. Now, being fully transparent, we can show you everybody who received one. But sadly, after some of these natural disasters, people do commit fraud and use other people's names to try to get money that they don't deserve. Now, the reason we know about the checks is we do something we mail them. We don't direct deposit them. So people can't do that trick where they pretend to be someone else and then put their own bank account on it. So we are learning through doing this names that were used inappropriately, and we are providing that information to FEMA, something that we otherwise would not have known. When you look at the $52 million from the Team Western Kentucky Tornado Relief Fund, and you look at the number of checks that appear to have gone to the wrong place, it looks like we have a 0.3% error rate in a $52 million fund. And Gil, that would make it one of the most successful fraud-free government funds, I think, in the history of the United States. But if you back up from it, that's $52 million that would never have existed, that paid for every funeral, helped farmers when their granary were destroyed, put dollars into people's pockets when they desperately needed it, and is building 300 plus homes. This shouldn't be political. It should be about the families that are getting that help. But we're always happy to come testify on what we think is really good work. All right, next, Melissa Patrick, Kentucky Health News. Okay, Matt Glowicki from the Courier-Journal.
Hi, Governor. Good afternoon. My question is about my question is about raises for executive branch workers. So there's some uncertainty about whether Republicans are going to pass a bill to authorize those 12% raises. And they're saying it's because the personnel cabinet didn't adequately complete a required report. And I'm just curious if you think the legislature is going to authorize these raises, and what happens if they don't? Thank you.
Well, the personnel cabinet has provided a full and comprehensive report and set of recommendations to the General Assembly. It is more than sufficient to authorize the roughly $200 million of raises, and we even have a full plan about how best to do that to help our executive branch. And I believe what the General Assembly is saying is you haven't made it through every single classification in state government and provided a recommendation there. That is more work than anything the size of the personnel cabinet is ever asked to do, especially in that period of time. Outside consultants are almost always hired to help get through that with money provided in an appropriation to do that. We don't have that here. Personnel cabinet has worked incredibly hard, this being their number one priority, and they have more than enough information in front of the General Assembly. If I have a concern, is that people are going to try to be political in an election year and make claims and then not provide raises that are needed and try to cast blame. Our executive branch employees deserve better. The plan that's out there will work. And I think our state government employees know that we have their back and are going to continue to advocate for them. All right. Thank you all very much. We'll be back next week.